I never thought I'd be the kind of man who'd refuse to sign his own son's birth certificate, but there I was, standing outside the NICU at Mercy General, staring through the glass at a tiny baby hooked up to more machines than I could count, and all I could think was, something's wrong. Not with the baby. The doctor said he'd be fine, premature, but his lungs were developing, his heart was strong. No, something was wrong with me, with us, with everything I thought I knew about my life. The nurse had asked me to come sign the paperwork. Standard procedure, she'd said, smiling like this was supposed to be one of the happiest moments of my life. Sarah had gone into labor at 7 months. 7 months, our baby, her baby, was fighting for his life. And all I could feel was this cold, creeping doubt that had been growing in my gut for weeks, months maybe. If I'm being honest, maybe years. Mr. Edwards? The nurse was back, clipboard in hand. Whenever you're ready. I looked at that baby one more time. He was so small, fragile, innocent, and I wanted to love him. God, I wanted to. But I couldn't shake what Sarah had said 2 months ago. Drunk after our anniversary dinner, her words slurring as she leaned against the kitchen counter. This one's different, Tom. This baby is different. I'd asked her what she meant. She'd laughed it off, said she didn't remember saying it, but I remembered. I remembered everything. I need a paternity test, I said. The nurse blinked. I'm sorry? Before I sign anything, I need a paternity test. She looked uncomfortable, glanced at the baby, then back at me. Mr. Edwards, we can arrange that, but it takes a few days and then we wait. If you've ever been in my shoes, you might understand why I did what I did. Maybe you'd have done the same thing. Or maybe you'd think I'm a monster for doubting my wife while our baby clung to life. I don't know. All I know is that I'd spent 8 years being the good husband, the loyal friend, the hard worker. I'd followed every rule, kept every promise, trusted every person I was supposed to trust. And somewhere along the way, I'd stopped trusting myself, stopped listening to that voice in the back of my head that kept whispering, something's wrong. Well, I was listening now. I walked down the corridor towards Sarah's room, my work boots squeaking against the linoleum. I could hear voices inside, Sarah's and others. I pushed open the door. My wife was in the hospital bed, pale and exhausted, her dark hair plastered to her forehead. She looked up at me, and for just a second, I saw something flash across her face. Fear, guilt, but it was gone so fast, I couldn't be sure. Sitting in the chairs around her bed were Kevin and his parents, Gerald and Patricia Reynolds. Of course they were here. They were always here. Kevin Reynolds, my best friend since we were 10 years old. The guy I'd cut my palm with by the oak tree in our backyard, pressing our bleeding hands together and swearing we'd be brothers forever. Gerald Reynolds, who'd given me a job when my father died, who'd mentored me, who'd stood at my father's funeral and promised my mother he'd look after us. They were family. More than family. They were the people I trusted most in the world. Kevin stood up when he saw me. Hey, brother, how's he looking? I stared at him, at the blood brother scar on his right palm, barely visible now after 22 years. I had the same scar. Brothers forever, we'd promised, through everything. I need to talk to my wife, I said. Alone. Sarah's eyes widened. Tom, they're just alone. Patricia Reynolds made a small noise of disapproval, but Gerald put a hand on her arm. Come on, Patricia, Kevin, let's give them some privacy. Kevin hesitated, looking between me and Sarah. Something passed between them, just a glance, just a second. But I caught it, and everything inside me went cold. Yeah, Kevin said slowly. Of course. We'll be outside if you need anything. The door clicked shut behind them. Sarah was already crying. She was always crying lately. Tom, please. I know you're upset, but the baby... What did you mean? I asked. What? 2 months ago, you said, this one's different. Her face went blank. I was drunk, Tom. I don't remember. I remember. I remember exactly what you said. This one's different, Tom. This baby is different. So I'm asking you, what did you mean? Nothing. I didn't mean anything. Then you won't mind the paternity test. The color drained from her face. You what? I told the nurse I need a paternity test before I sign the birth certificate. Are you insane? She tried to sit up, wincing. Our baby is in the NICU, fighting for his life, and you're accusing me of... I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just asking for a test. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you, but I need to know. Get out. Sarah, get out! Her scream echoed off the walls. Get out! Get out! The door burst open. Kevin rushed in, Gerald and Patricia right behind him. What's going on? He wants a paternity test, Sarah sobbed. He thinks I cheated, while our baby is dying. He's not dying, I said quietly. The doctor said, You son of a bitch. Kevin grabbed my arm, pulled me toward the door. Tom, what the hell is wrong with you? I looked down at his hand on my arm, then at his other hand, at the watch on his wrist, my father's watch. I'd given it to Kevin on my wedding day, as a gift. He was my best man, my brother. I'd wanted him to wear it, to carry a piece of my father with us on that day. Kevin had promised he'd give it back after the ceremony. That was 8 years ago. Let go of me, I said. Kevin dropped my arm like I'd burned him. Gerald stepped between us, his tall frame imposing even at 60. He'd always been like that, commanding, authoritative, the kind of man who walked into a room and everyone shut up to listen. Tom, son, I know you're under a lot of stress. We all are. But you're not thinking clearly. Don't call me son, his jaw tightened. Excuse me? You're not my father. My father is dead. He died in your factory 18 years ago because you were too cheap to replace faulty equipment. The room went silent. Patricia gasped. Kevin looked like I'd slapped him. Gerald's face turned red, then white. Tom, he said carefully, I understand you're grieving, but those are serious accusations. I've arranged for a paternity test. The results will be ready in 3 days. If the baby is mine, I'll apologize to everyone. I'll beg Sarah's forgiveness. But if he's not, I looked at each of them, Gerald, Patricia, Kevin, Sarah. If he's not, then we're done. All of it, done. I walked out. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck, the old Ford F-150 I'd bought used 10 years ago, back when I first started at Reynolds Manufacturing. The company logo was on the truck parked next to mine, Edwards and Reynolds, built on trust, since 1982. I touched the scar on my right palm, the blood brother scar. Blood is thicker than water, they say. But I was starting to think blood could lie, and water. Water could drown you. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. I moved into the Millbrook Motor Lodge on Route 9, $28 a night for a room that smelled like cigarettes and desperation. It was all I could afford. I'd taken a week off work, Sarah's medical emergency, everyone understood. But I knew I'd have to face them all eventually, the whole town, Kevin, Gerald, the truth. My mother came by on the second day with Tupperware containers of food I couldn't eat. She sat on the edge of the sagging mattress and didn't say anything for a long time. Your father would be proud of you, she finally said. I laughed bitterly. For what? Abandoning my wife and newborn in the hospital? For standing up for the truth. She took my hand, traced the blood brother scar. Baby, your father used to say that some people take advantage of trust. That gratitude doesn't mean ownership. I never understood what he meant until... She trailed off. Until what? Until I saw how Gerald Reynolds looked at you after your father died, like he'd bought something valuable, like he owned you. I stared at her. Mom, I'm not saying anything else. I'm just saying, trust your gut. Your father did. And he was usually right. She kissed my forehead and left. I spent that night staring at the water-stained ceiling, remembering things I'd tried not to think about. Sarah's late nights at school events, the way Kevin had started coming by the house more often when I worked double shifts, the promotion Sarah got at the factory right after Lily was born, a promotion that made no sense because she was part-time, barely qualified, and there were 3 other people with more experience. The way Gerald looked at her sometimes. No, I couldn't think about that. Gerald was like a father to me. He'd been there when my actual father died. He'd given me work, helped my mom with bills, treated me like family. But my father had tried to warn me. I saw that now. In those last moments before he died, hooked up to machines, just like Sarah's baby, he'd squeeze my hand and said, Tommy, just because someone helps you doesn't mean they own you. I'd been 14. I hadn't understood. I understood now. The DNA results came via email at 6:47 a.m. on a Thursday. I was sitting in my truck in the Motor Lodge parking lot, coffee from the gas station going cold in my hand, when my phone buzzed. Paternity test results. Confidential. My hand shook as I opened the attachment. Probability of paternity, 0%. I read it 3 times. 4, 5, 0%. Not my son. I drove to the house, to what used to be my house, without thinking. Sarah's car was in the driveway, so was Kevin's, and his parents' Lexus. Of course. They were in the living room when I walked in. An intervention, basically. Sarah's parents, my mother, who looked like she wanted to be anywhere else, Kevin and his parents, and Sarah herself, holding the baby. He'd been released from the hospital yesterday. Healthy, thriving, not mine. Tom. Gerald stood up, all fake warmth and concern. We were hoping you'd come. We're all worried about you. This behavior, these accusations, we think you might need help, professional help. I have the results, I said. Sarah's face went white. What results? Kevin asked, but his voice was too careful, too controlled. I held up my phone. DNA test for the baby, 0% match. The room exploded. Sarah's mother gasped. Her father started shouting. Patricia Reynolds grabbed her husband's arm. Kevin just stood there, frozen. Those tests aren't accurate, Sarah's father yelled. You're going to destroy this family over some 99.9% accurate, I said. Sarah, tell them. Tell them the truth. She was crying, clutching the baby. Tom, please. I want Lily and Jacob tested too. Silence. Gerald's face went from red to purple. You will not drag those children into your paranoid delusions. They're my children, and I have a right to know if they're actually mine. You're sick, Patricia Reynolds said coldly. You need help, Thomas. Tom, brother, listen to me. Kevin moved closer, hands up like I was a wild animal. You're not thinking straight. The stress, the baby coming early, work. You're having a breakdown. Let us help you. I looked at him, really looked at him, at my blood brother, at the man who'd been my best man, who'd been there for every major moment of my life, who knew me better than anyone, and I saw it in his eyes. Guilt. Did you know? I asked quietly. What? Did you know the baby isn't mine? Tom, I don't... Just answer the fucking question. Did you know? Kevin's jaw worked. I don't think... He didn't know, Sarah said suddenly. Nobody knew. It's not what you think. Then what is it? She looked at Gerald, just for a second, just a flicker of a glance, and I knew. You, I said, turning to Gerald. You and my wife. The room went dead silent. Gerald's face was stone. I don't have to listen to these insane accusations. Patricia, we're leaving. Kevin, come on. I want DNA tests for Lily and Jacob, I said louder. Court-ordered if I have to, but I'm going to find out the truth. Fine, Sarah spat. Fine. Test them. Test all of them. And when you're wrong, when you've destroyed this family for nothing, I hope you can live with yourself. But she wouldn't look at me, and Kevin wouldn't look at me, and Gerald was already out the door. The test took 5 days. 5 days of living in that motor lodge. 5 days of going to work at Reynolds Manufacturing and feeling every eye on me. Someone had spray-painted deadbeat on my locker. Coworkers whispered. Clients asked where I'd been. Only Frank Morrison, the old retired foreman who'd worked with my father, pulled me aside. Tom, your dad was my best friend. If you need anything, and I mean anything, you call me. Thanks, Frank. I mean it. Henry would want someone looking out for you. On Sunday, for the first time in my life, I wasn't invited to dinner at the Reynolds house. 40 years of tradition, started by my grandfather and Kevin's grandfather when they founded the company together, broken. I drove by anyway, couldn't help myself. Through the big bay window, I could see them all gathered around the long table. Sarah was there with Lily and Jacob, Kevin and his wife Melissa and their kids, Gerald at the head of the table, carving the roast, Patricia serving pie. My mother wasn't there. She'd refused to go without me. It looked perfect, like a Norman Rockwell painting, like a family. I drove back to the motor lodge and ate a gas station sandwich alone. The results came on a Tuesday. Kevin brought them to me himself, found me on my lunch break in the factory break room. Hey, he said quietly, sitting down across from me. These came to the office. I thought you'd want them right away. 2 envelopes, one labeled Jacob Edwards, one labeled Lily Edwards. Kevin was watching me with this look on his face. Pity, fear, guilt. "You already know, don't you?" I said. "Tom, you know what's in these envelopes." His silence was answer enough. I opened the first one. Jacob, my 4-year-old son. The kid who looked exactly like Kevin, now that I really looked at him. The same eyes, the same smile, the same way of tilting his head when he was thinking. Probability of paternity. 0% alternative candidate, Kevin Reynolds. 99.9%. I looked up at Kevin. He was crying. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Tom, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. It happened and I couldn't." I opened the second envelope. Lily, my 8-year-old daughter, my firstborn. The little girl who drew me pictures and called me daddy and held my hand on the way to school. Probability of paternity. 0% excluded candidates, Thomas Edwards, Kevin Reynolds. Note, third-party sample required for conclusive determination. I read it twice, 3 times. Not mine, not Kevin's. I looked up. Across the break room, I could see into the glass office where Gerald Reynolds sat at his desk, phone to his ear. "No," I said. Kevin followed my gaze. His face went white. "Oh my God!" "Your father." No, he wouldn't." "Tom, that doesn't mean—" I stood up. Kevin grabbed my arm. "Tom, don't. Please, let me handle this." I ripped my arm away and walked toward Gerald's office. He saw me coming, saw my face, hung up the phone. I didn't knock, just walked in and closed the door behind me. "Tom," he said carefully, "if this is about the tests, Lily is 8 years old. I don't know what you're—" She was conceived right after Sarah and I got married. Sarah was 22. She'd just started working part-time in the office. Your office? Gerald's face was stone. "You're making serious accusations? You gave her that job. You promoted her right after Lily was born. You've been sleeping with my wife since before we even had kids. Get out of my office." She was 22 years old. I was 24. We'd just gotten married and you— My voice cracked. "You were like a father to me. After my dad died, Your father was careless. The accident was his own fault." Everything went red. I don't remember lunging across the desk. Don't remember Kevin and 3 other guys pulling me off Gerald. Don't remember screaming. But I remember Gerald's words calm and cold. "You're fired. Get your things and get out. If you come back, I'm calling the police." Kevin drove me back to the motor lodge. We didn't speak. What was there to say? At the door to my room, he finally broke the silence. "Tom, brother, I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. I never meant—" "How long?" I asked. "What? How long have you been sleeping with my wife?" He looked away. 4 years. It started at the company anniversary party. We were drunk, and Sarah was upset because you were working late, and God, Tom, I don't know. It just happened. And you let it keep happening. I tried to stop. I swear I tried. But she and my dad—" He stopped himself. "Your dad what?" Kevin's face crumpled. "He knew about me and Sarah. He found out a year ago. And instead of making me stop, he told me about him and Sarah. Said we were sharing a secret now. Said if I told anyone, he'd destroy both of us." I stared at him, at my brother, at the man I'd trusted more than anyone in the world. "Get out," I said. "Tom, get out." And Kevin— I held up my wrist, pointed at the watch he was wearing, my father's watch. "I want that back." He fumbled with the clasp, handed it to me. His hands were shaking. I went inside and locked the door, held that watch. Time reveals all truths engraved on the back, and finally let myself break. I spent the next week in that motor lodge room, staring at the ceiling, going through the timeline. Married Sarah, June 2016. I was 24, she was 22, fresh out of college, sweet and kind, the girl next door I'd loved since high school. Sarah started part-time at the factory office, July 2016, 1 month after our wedding. Gerald had offered her the job, said he wanted to help us out. Lily born, March 2017, 9 months later. I'd been so happy, a father at 25, thought I was building something, a family, a life. Jacob born, January 2020. I remembered that night, the company's 37th anniversary party. Sarah had been upset because I'd had to work early shift the next morning. I'd left around 11. She'd stayed later with Kevin, the new baby conceived September 2024, the company's 40th anniversary celebration. I'd worked late setting up. By the time I got to the party, Sarah was drunk, laughing with Kevin and Gerald. A pattern. A fucking pattern. My mother found me on day 6, brought groceries, forced me to shower, sat me down at the tiny table. "I need you to listen to me," she said. "Can you do that?" I nodded. "You are not what happened to you. Do you hear me? You are not this betrayal. You are not this pain. You are your father's son. And your father—" Her voice broke. "Your father would want you to fight. For what? They're not even my kids, Mom." "So what? You raised them. You love them. That makes them yours." "The law doesn't work that way." "Then you change the law. You fight. You get a lawyer. You file for custody. You make sure those babies know they have a father who loves them even if they don't have his blood." "I can't afford—" "I'll sell the house if I have to." "Tom, please, don't let them win. Don't let Gerald Reynolds destroy another generation of our family." That's when I remembered. "Mom," I said slowly, "what did you mean before, when you said Dad tried to warn me about Gerald?" She looked away. "Mom, your father, he knew things about Gerald, things he couldn't prove, about women at the factory, about how Gerald used his position, his power." She pulled something from her purse, an old envelope, yellowed with age. "Your father wrote you a letter. Before he died, he made me promise not to give it to you unless you needed it. I think you need it now." My hands shook as I opened it. "Tommy, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I won't be there to see the man you become, but I know you'll make me proud. There's something I need to tell you about the Reynolds family." I read the whole thing twice. By the end, I was crying so hard I couldn't see. My father had known about Gerald's affairs, about his abuse of power, about the faulty equipment that Gerald refused to replace, about how Gerald used people, used their gratitude, their loyalty, their need to control them. And he'd tried to warn me. You can't fix people who don't want to be fixed, Tommy. And you can't stay loyal to people who were never loyal to you. That night, I called Frank Morrison. "Frank, you said if I needed anything, name it. I need you to tell me the truth about my father's death." Long silence. "I was wondering when you'd ask," Frank said finally. "Can you come by tomorrow?" We met at Lucky's Diner on the edge of town. Frank was already there, coffee going cold in front of him, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Your father was my best friend," he started, "and his death wasn't an accident." The story came out slowly, painfully. The equipment failures my father had reported, Gerald's refusal to fix them because it was too expensive, the safety complaint my father filed 2 weeks before he died, the way that complaint mysteriously disappeared. "I couldn't prove it," Frank said, his hands shaking. "I wanted to. God knows I wanted to. But Gerald had lawyers, money, connections. I had nothing. I was afraid of losing my job, my pension. I had a wife, kids to feed." He looked at me with tears in his eyes. "I've regretted my silence every single day for 18 years. So, when I heard what he did to you, to your family, Tom, I can't let him get away with it again." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'll testify about everything, about your father, about Gerald's pattern of behavior with female employees. There was another woman 15 years ago, Jenny Carlson. Gerald got her pregnant, paid her off. She left town. I drove her to the bus station because she was too scared to go alone." I stared at him. "You'll really testify? In court? I'm 70 years old, Tom. I got nothing left to lose, and I owe it to your father. I owe it to you." That afternoon, I did 3 things. First, I found my father's old toolbox in the basement of the house I apparently no longer lived in. Sarah was at her parents' place with the kids. The basement was exactly how I remembered it. Dad's workshop, covered in dust, untouched since he died. His tools were still there, his work gloves, his journal. I read every entry from the last year of his life, saw how he documented everything. Gerald's advances toward young female employees, the safety violations, the times Gerald had implied that my father owed him for giving him work. "I gave Tommy the watch today," one entry read. "Told him it says, 'Time reveals all truths.' Someday he'll understand what I meant. Someday the truth about men like Gerald Reynolds will come out. I just pray Tommy's not in the blast radius when it does. Too late, Dad. Second, I hired a lawyer. David Chen, a scrappy public defender who'd just gone private and was hungry to make a name for himself. He took one look at my case and said, "This is going to be brutal, but we can win." "How much?" "More than you can afford, but I'll work out payments, because fuck powerful men who think they can buy their way out of consequences." I liked him immediately. Third, I filed for full custody of Lily and Jacob, and I filed a civil lawsuit against Reynolds Manufacturing for creating and maintaining a hostile work environment that enabled predatory behavior. If Gerald wanted a war, he'd get one. The custody trial was set for 6 weeks out. In that time, I was allowed supervised visits with the kids, 2 hours twice a week at the community center with a court-appointed supervisor watching our every move. The first visit nearly killed me. Lily ran to me, wrapped her arms around my waist, and sobbed. "Daddy, where have you been? Mommy said you don't love us anymore." I knelt down, held her face in my hands. "That's not true. That's not true. I love you more than anything in the world." "Then why did you leave? How do you explain adult betrayal to an 8-year-old? How do you tell your daughter that nothing in her life is what she thought it was?" "I didn't leave you, sweetie. I left a situation that wasn't healthy, but I'm fighting to come back. I promise." Jacob was more cautious. At 4, he didn't fully understand what was happening, just that Daddy was gone and Mommy cried a lot. "Mommy's friend Kevin comes over now," he said, playing with blocks. "He sleeps in your room." My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. We played. I helped Lily with homework. I read Jacob's stories. And when the supervisor said time was up and both kids clung to me, crying, begging to come home with me, that was when I knew I'd fight to my last breath for them. Blood or not, they were mine. Around week 3, something unexpected happened. David suggested I attend a betrayed spouse's support group. "It'll look good for the custody case," he said. "Show you're working on processing the trauma. Plus, it might actually help." I went reluctantly to the first meeting. Church basement, circle of folding chairs. 8 people with the same hollow look in their eyes. "We have a new member," the facilitator said gently. "Tom, would you like to share?" I almost said no, but then I figured, what the hell? What did I have left to lose? "My wife cheated on me with my best friend and his father," I said. "My boss. I have 3 kids. None of them are biologically mine." The room went quiet. Then a woman across the circle spoke up. "How long were you married?" 8 years. "That's 8 years of love you gave," she said. "DNA doesn't erase that." Her name was Becca Martinez. Single mom, mid-30s, warm brown eyes that had seen their share of pain. After the meeting, she asked if I wanted to grab coffee. We sat in a booth at Lucky's Diner for 3 hours. She told me about her ex-husband, the abuse, the financial control, the day she finally took her 6-year-old son and left with nothing but the clothes on their backs. "How did you do it?" I asked. "How did you start over?" I realized I was teaching my son that love means suffering, and I didn't want that to be his definition of family. She reached across the table, put her hand on mine. "Tom, those kids are yours. You were there for first steps, first words, scraped knees, bedtime stories. That's what makes you a father, not a DNA test. I'm scared I'm going to lose them, then fight like hell, and let people help you." We talked until the diner closed, about rebuilding, about healing, about what it means to choose your family instead of being born into one. "My son Lucas could use a good male role model," Becca said as we walked to our cars. "Maybe sometime you could meet him, no pressure, just... I think you two would get along." I smiled, first real smile in weeks. "I'd like that." Meeting Lucas changed something in me. He was 6, energetic and smart, with his mother's warm eyes and a curiosity about everything. We met at the park, I pushed him on the swings, and he asked 1,000 questions about everything from trucks to dinosaurs to why the sky was blue. "Are you Miss Becca's boyfriend?" he asked suddenly. "No," I said, flustered. "We're just friends." "Oh, my mom needs a friend. She's sad a lot." My heart broke for this kid. "Your mom is pretty great." "Yeah." He was quiet for a minute. My dad left. "Do you have kids?" "Yeah, 2, a girl and a boy." "Do they live with you?" "Not right now, but I'm trying to fix that." Lucas thought about this. "My mom says you can't fix people, but You can fix situations. I looked at him, this wise little 6-year-old. Your mom is pretty smart. Over the next few weeks, Lucas and I spent more time together. Becca would bring him to the park, or we'd meet at the diner, and I found myself looking forward to it more than I wanted to admit. Lucas reminded me why I was fighting. Kids need stability, safety, love. They need someone to show up. I started showing up. I moved out of the motor lodge into a small apartment. 1 bedroom for me, and I set up the living room for the kids. Bunk beds from Goodwill, art supplies for Lily, toy trucks for Jacob. It wasn't much, but it was clean and safe and ours. My mother helped me paint. We made the walls yellow because Lily loved yellow. Your father would be so proud, Mom said, roller in hand. I wish I had his watch still, to remember. She stopped painting. Tommy, you don't need the watch. You carry him with you in everything you do. One Saturday, I invited Becca and Lucas over, showed Lucas my father's old tools, the ones I'd taken from the basement before Sarah could throw them out. My dad taught me how to use these, I told Lucas. Want me to teach you? His face lit up. Really? We spent the afternoon building a birdhouse. Lucas concentrated so hard, his tongue between his teeth, measuring carefully, hammering with both hands on the nail. You're a natural, I said. Do you think maybe you could teach me more stuff, like on weekends? I looked at Becca. She was crying, nodding. Yeah, buddy, I said, voice thick. I'd really like that. Later, after they had gone home and I was cleaning up sawdust, I realized something. I'd been so focused on what I'd lost that I hadn't seen what I was finding. A new family, one built on choice, not obligation, on truth, not lies. That night, we had our first Sunday dinner at my apartment. Not Sunday and not fancy. Just pizza on the floor because I didn't have enough chairs yet. Me, Becca, Lucas, and my mom. But we laughed, really laughed. And when Lucas told a terrible knock-knock joke, everyone groaned and then laughed harder, and I thought, this is what family should feel like. After Becca and Lucas left, my mom put her hand on my shoulder. She's good for you. Mom, it's not like that. I'm not even divorced yet. That woman sees you, Tommy, really sees you. Don't be too stubborn to see her back. The custody trial began on a Monday in March. The courtroom was packed. Small town, big scandal. Everyone wanted a front row seat to the Edwards-Reynolds implosion. Judge Patricia Hawthorne presided. 50s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. She looked at the crowd and said, "This is a family court matter, not a circus. Anyone who can't behave will be removed." Sarah had hired Marcus Webb, the most expensive divorce attorney in the county. Slick suit, practiced smile, the kind of lawyer who made you feel dirty just being in the same room. I had David Chen in a borrowed suit, armed with nothing but truth and fury. Webb painted me as unstable, paranoid, a man who'd abandoned his wife during a medical emergency. He made Sarah sound like a saint, a devoted mother suffering under false accusations. David waited, let Webb talk himself in circles. Then he called Sarah to the stand. "Mrs. Edwards, you testified that you've been faithful to your husband throughout your marriage. Is that correct?" Sarah, playing the victim perfectly. "Yes." "And the paternity test showing the newborn isn't your husband's child. Those tests can be wrong." 99.9% accurate, Mrs. Edwards. "Have you had a sexual relationship with Kevin Reynolds?" Long pause. The courtroom held its breath. "No," Sarah said. "You're under oath." I said no. David nodded. "We'll see." Then he called Kevin. My blood brother walked to the stand like he was walking to his execution. Melissa, his wife, sat in the gallery with no idea what was coming. She'd find out soon enough. David was relentless. "Mr. Reynolds, how long have you known Thomas Edwards?" "Since we were kids. He's like a brother to me." "Can you show the court your right palm?" Confused, Kevin held up his hand. The blood brother scar was visible even from where I sat. "That's a scar," David said. "How did you get it?" "Tom and I made a blood brother pact when we were 10. We cut our palms and pressed them together." "And what did you promise each other?" "Brothers forever, through everything." "Through everything." David let that hang. "Mr. Reynolds, have you had a sexual relationship with Sarah Edwards?" Kevin's face went pale. He looked at Melissa, at me, at his father. "Mr. Reynolds," David pressed, You're under oath. Remember your blood brother oath? That included telling the truth, didn't it? Kevin broke. Yes, okay? Yes, I slept with Sarah. The courtroom erupted. Melissa stood up, screamed, "What?" and ran out crying. Judge Hawthorne banged her gavel. "Order!" Kevin was sobbing. "Tom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. I couldn't stop." "How many times?" David asked. "I don't know. Multiple times. Over 4 years. And the baby, Jacob? Yes, they're mine. What about Lily?" "No, Lily isn't mine." "Then whose daughter is she?" Silence. Kevin looked at his father. Gerald Reynolds sat stone-faced in the front row, next to his wife Patricia, both of them looking like they'd swallowed glass. David called Gerald next. Gerald refused to answer most questions, pled the fifth, but David had DNA evidence. 99.9% probability that Lily was Gerald's daughter. Gerald finally spoke. "This is a witch hunt. I don't have to explain anything. You had an affair with your employee, Sarah Edwards, 8 years ago when she was 22, and newly married to another employee, Thomas Edwards. You used your position of power to seduce a young, vulnerable woman, correct?" Gerald's lawyer objected repeatedly. Judge Hawthorne overruled him. "No comment," Gerald said coldly. Then Frank Morrison took the stand, and Frank burned it all down. He testified about my father's death, the safety violations, the complaints Gerald buried, the pattern of Gerald using his power to control and exploit people. "I've been silent for 18 years, Frank said, voice shaking. "I was afraid. Gerald Reynolds controls this town, jobs, pensions, reputations. I chose silence over truth, and I've regretted it every day. But I'm old now. I have nothing left to lose. And I owe it to Henry Edwards. He tried to protect people from Gerald, and it got him killed. I won't let another generation suffer in silence." He testified about Jenny Carlson, the employee Gerald got pregnant 15 years ago. How Gerald paid her off, and how she left town terrified. The gallery was dead silent. Gerald's face was purple. Patricia Reynolds looked like she might faint. When Sarah was recalled to the stand, she finally admitted everything. The affair with Gerald that started when she was 22. The ongoing affair with Kevin. How Gerald had made it clear her job, and my promotions, depended on keeping him happy. I felt sick listening to it. Sick and angry and sad. Because I realized Sarah had been groomed, manipulated. She'd made terrible choices, but she'd also been a victim of a predator with power. Finally, David called me to the stand. "Mr. Edwards, tell the court about your relationship with Lily and Jacob." I took a breath. "They're my kids. I raised them since they were born. I changed diapers, walked floors at night, taught them to ride bikes, helped with homework, kissed scraped knees. They're mine in every way that matters." "Even knowing they're not biologically yours?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because being a father isn't about DNA. It's about showing up. I've been that person. I am that person." David had me show my blood brother scar to the judge, had me explain the promise Kevin and I made as children. "That promise was broken," David said. "Do you believe in promises anymore?" "I believe in the promises I make." "What promise are you making to Lily and Jacob?" "That I will never leave them, that I will always be their father, that they will always have a home with me." Webb tried to paint me as unstable, unemployed, unable to provide, but David countered with evidence that I'd already found new work, was paying rent on time, had created a safe home environment. Then came the moment that changed everything. Judge Hawthorne called Lily to chambers for private testimony. But Lily, my brave, fierce 8-year-old, asked to speak in open court. "I want everyone to hear," she said. The judge allowed it. Lily sat in the witness chair, looking so small, her legs dangling. The judge asked her gently who she wanted to live with. "Tom," Lily said without hesitation. Sarah gasped, started crying. "Can you tell me why?" The judge asked. "Because he's my daddy, my real daddy." "Do you understand that Tom is not your biological father?" "I know, Mommy told me, but he's still my daddy. He's the one who stayed." The courtroom was silent except for Sarah's sobs. "What about your mother?" the judge asked. Lily looked at Sarah. "I love Mommy, but she lies. She said Tom didn't love us anymore, but that's not true." "How do you know?" "Because Tom promised he'd never leave us, and Tom keeps his promises." I was crying openly now. Couldn't help it. "Lily," the judge said softly, "is there anything else you want to say?" Lily looked right at me. "Daddy, I drew you a picture. It's on your fridge. It says family. That's what we are. You, me, Jacob, and Miss Becca and Lucas. That's our family now, and I don't want anyone else." Judge Hawthorne paused, then read her ruling. Primary custody to me. Supervised visitation for Sarah. No custodial rights for Kevin or Gerald. Case referred to the DA for criminal investigation into Gerald's conduct. We won. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Gerald and Patricia rushed to their car. Kevin sat on the steps alone, destroyed. Melissa had already left him. Sarah's parents looked ashamed. And me? I walked out with David, my mom, Frank, and Becca. A reporter shoved a microphone in my face. "Mr. Edwards, how do you feel?" "Grateful," I said. "For my kids, for the truth, and for the people who stood by me." "What's next?" "I'm going home. To my kids." Kevin approached as we reached the parking lot. "Tom, please, can we talk?" I looked at him, at the blood brother scar on his palm, at the man who'd been my brother for 22 years and my betrayer for 4. "No," I said, "we can't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix what you broke." I walked away and didn't look back. 6 months later, life looked completely different. I picked up Lily and Jacob every Friday afternoon. They stayed with me through Monday morning. We had a routine now. Homework at the kitchen table, dinner together, usually something simple like spaghetti or tacos. Saturday mornings were for pancakes and cartoons. Sunday afternoons, Becca and Lucas came over. That's when it felt most like family. All of us together. No performance, no pretense. Just people who'd chosen each other, who'd decided that love wasn't about blood or obligation, but about showing up every single day. One Saturday, I taught Lucas how to use a hammer properly. We were building a shelf for Lily's art supplies. "Remember what your great-grandfather used to say?" I asked Jacob, who was helping by handing us nails. "We fix things," Jacob said proudly. "That's right, but we also know when to let go of things that are broken beyond fixing." Lucas looked up at me, wise beyond his 6 years. "Like the Reynolds family?" "Yeah, buddy, like that." Lily was in her room drawing. She drew constantly now. The therapist said it was her way of processing everything. When I checked on her, she showed me her latest picture. All of us around a small tree. "What's this?" I asked. "It's the tree we're going to plant," she said. "You promised, remember, for our new family." I'd forgotten, but she hadn't. That afternoon, we all went to the apartment complex courtyard. The landlord had given permission. We planted a small oak sapling, nothing like the massive tree between my old house and the Reynolds place, but ours. "Why are we planting a tree?" Lily asked as she helped Jacob pat down the soil. "Because trees grow slowly," I said. "They put down roots. They last. Just like families." Lucas added water from the watering can. "Can we carve our names in it?" "When it's bigger. When it's strong enough to hold our stories." "What should we call it?" Becca asked, her hand in mine. "The family tree," Lily said immediately. So, that's what we called it. That night, after the kids were asleep and Becca had gone home, I sat in the quiet apartment and thought about everything that had happened. Everything I'd lost. Everything I'd found. I thought about my father's watch, the one I'd given back to Kevin, the one the court ordered him to return, the one I'd then given to Lucas. Time reveals all truths, it said. And time had revealed mine. It revealed that the family I thought I had was built on lies. But it also revealed something more important. That family isn't about blood. It's about choice. It's about who shows up, who stays, who fights for you when the truth comes out. I'd lost a brother, lost a wife, lost the life I thought I was building, but I'd gained something better. I'd gained a family that chose me, and I chose them right back. Lily and Jacob weren't my biological children, but they were mine. Lucas wasn't my son, but he was mine too. And Becca wasn't my wife yet, but she was my family. The Reynolds family had tried to bury the truth for 40 years, but truth has a way of rising up, like a tree from a seed. It can't stay hidden forever. My father's watch says, "Time reveals all truths." I used to think that was a warning. Now I know it's a promise. Because time didn't just reveal the lies, it revealed the love, the real love, the kind that doesn't need DNA tests or blood oaths or Sunday dinners and fancy houses, the kind that just stays. And I was staying. We all were, together. Not the family I was born into, but the family I chose, the family that chose me back. I looked at Lily's drawing on the fridge, the one of all of us around our new tree, and I thought about that opening scene in the hospital 6 months ago when I'd refused to sign that birth certificate, when I'd demanded the truth and everyone thought I was crazy. I wasn't crazy. I was just finally listening to myself. Blood is thicker than water, they say. But I learned something. Blood can lie. Blood can betray. Blood doesn't make you family. Love makes you family. Choice makes you family. Staying makes you family. And family isn't where you're from. It's where you're going. And I knew exactly where I was going. Home.